A very good afternoon, one and all present here. I, Suresh DB, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechatronics. I feel privileged to welcome you all on behalf of Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering for AICT sponsored 2-week online faculty development program on fostering ethics, moral values, and character building in technical education from 23rd November to 5th December, organized by Department of Mechatronics SVC. For today's session, we have an eminent personality, Mr. Bharat LJ, working as a power system engineer, PRDC, Bangalore. Okay, as a research person, it's my privilege to welcome you, Bharat, Mr. Bharat,
Thank you, sir.
and it's a great honor for me to introduce such a renowned personality. Mr. Bharat is a proud alumni of Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department at Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. He passed out of SVC in the year 2017, being awarded the academic topper and also the best outgoing student of the batch. Further, he joined Power Research and Development Consultant Private Limited as Power System Engineer. Since then, he has been involved in carrying out extensive power system studies for industrial and traction systems. His areas of interest are power quality, power system protection, electromagnetic transient studies, and arc flash protection. Bharat's notable works include performing power system study for various reputed and largest producers of steel in the world like JSW, Salem, Tata Steel, Jamshedpur, and many other plants. Okay, he, he was he was the key speaker, key member for carrying out failure analysis for flashover of 66 kV kilovolts VCB breaker in Bangalore Metro. Subsequently, he carried out electromagnetic transient studies and harmonic studies for BMRCL, which is one of the most repeated projects. Okay, currently he is leading the international projects in PRDC and working on complete electrical system design for a major textile industry in Indonesia and design of steel plant in Oman. Apart from his professional career, he has been actively associated with the various alumni activities of the institution. His recent guest lecturer to the students of Tribali was well lauded by all. Okay, he is also a committee member of the institution's new startup initiative, Q Rights. Okay, with this brief introduction of once again, I welcome you, Mr. Bharat,
Thank you, sir.
on behalf of management, mechatronics, department of mechatronics, and on my own behalf. Okay, we would delegate to be a part of the session, Mr. Bharat. Mr. Bharat is going to enlighten us as the topic discussing the role of ethical and moral values in the industry, power and power system industry. Now I request uh, take our session, Mr. Bharat.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for those wonderful words. So, if my screen is visible, so I can start, right?
Yeah, it's visible. You can continue.
Okay. So, first of all, I would like to welcome all of you to this FTP program, and I feel privileged to be having presenting this particular seminar. And and I would thank all the coordinators and especially the HOD and principal of the college for giving me this opportunity. So, as already Suresh sir told that regarding my present career, what I'm doing. So I am Bharat, and I was an alumni of Department of Triple E in Venkateshwara College of Engineering in 2017. And presently, I'm working as a power system engineer in Power Research and Development Consultants from 3 years. So going ahead, so let us start the session. So I would like to start my session with this: Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we all must be knowing this meaning already. The Guru is the creator, is the illustrator, and the destroyer. And with his blessings, anything and everything is possible. So I think teachers or the Guru plays a major role in anyone's life. As the popular saying says, parents are our first teachers, and teachers are our second parents. So our life pretty much revolves around them, and the way we grow up, the the things which we do are all a contribution of such teachers whom we get along our path. So I would like to thank all my teachers and Almighty God for whatever I have achieved till now, and whatever I would achieve in the near future. So coming to the session outline, it would be a brief introduction about what we are doing today, and of course, what is morals, ethics, and values. And I'll just speak about a brief insight about the power sector, how moral and ethics are important for in particular for any industry, and in particular power sector, and the challenges which are faced by power distribution companies, and coming back to ethics in profession, for that matter any profession. And I would outline some of my professional experience or situations wherein I had to deal with decision making which should have moral or ethical grounds. And let us see, and then we'll conclude the session. So the first thing is morals. So by a standard definition, morals are prevailing standards of behavior that enable people to live cooperatively in groups. Moral refers to what society sanction as right and acceptable. So morals is something. Uh, it's a behavior of people and how people see certain things, or it's the perseverance of the people uh, regarding any issue or any day-to-day activity. How do they see to it, or how do they look into the matter? So sometimes some people may feel, some group or some people may feel it is right, and some group may feel it is wrong. It may be either political or social issues. So most people tend to act morally and follow social guidelines. So when we are living in a society, there are some guidelines which are not written on any rule books, but we know we have to follow them. We know it's virtually there, that we have been learning, or we have been following it in day-to-day life, even without actually thinking much about it. So people or entities that are indifferent to right or wrong are considered amoral. So after morality, there is a term called amoral and immoral. So some people do not mind if a situation is right or wrong, irrespective of whether it is a right situation or a wrong situation. They act in the similar way. If we take an example of a few parents, irrespective of their children, either they do good or bad deeds, they still support them. So this might be a possible example of a moral personality or a moral behavior. And while there are some people who do evil acts, so they are called immoral. Um I do not have to give examples of them in particular, I think. So and morality is something which is not fixed. It depends upon the time, it depends upon the people involved, and it depends upon the cultural background and many other foregoing factors. So something can be right in a particular place and the same thing can be wrong in some other place. For example, in the US, it is absolutely fine to wave at anyone in the public when you have an eye contact, irrespective of you know him or if he is a stranger, if he or she is a stranger. So it's their culture. So in the US, it's actually like if you see a person from eye to eye, you are supposed to, or you are uh, the people think that you would have to at least smile at them, or there should be a gesture which is shown by you. So that is something in the US. But if you come to a society in Germany, people do not like being gestured or uh, being contacted by a stranger in the public. So unless you are known to the person, they wouldn't mind to give any gesture to you or give any signs of a friendship or anything as such. So uh, so if you speak morally over here in the US, you would be deemed to be what do you call a non-societal person, or a not friendly person. But when you come to Germany, if you do the same deed, you would be entitled as something else. Like you would be seen as doing something wrong. So, or a proactive. So it depends upon culture to culture, and same with many of the things in India too. So morals are some. So that is what is given in the second point. Moral principles seem to transcend time and culture, such as fairness. Generally speaking, morality is not fixed. Morality describes the particular values of a specific group at a specific point in time. So, how do you behave at at some of the meetings, or at specific group meetings, and at what kind of situation it is? Morals keep on changing. So morals are principles that guide individual contact with the society, within the society or with the society. Okay, so while morals may change over time, they remain the standard of behavior that we use to judge right and wrong. So morals can be different, and it may change over time, but still they remain an unwritten standard, or unwritten rules, uh, while we judge the behavior of a person or a group, whether they are right or wrong. And it depends upon that particular group which we are speaking with respect to. So I've just added few of the famous quotes, or quotes from famous personalities. So one among them is by a father of our nation, Shri Mahatma Gandhi ji. Morality is the basis of things, and truth is the substance of all morality. So what he means to say is, for anything which matters, or for anything and everything, morality is the most basic requirement. And for that morality, truth is something which makes it to be moral. So morality and truth goes hand in hand. If you are truthful to yourself and and anyone uh, uh, who is concerned, so you would, the morality will automatically fall into place. And there is another quote from Albert Einstein, the famous physicist. Morality is the highest importance, but for us, not for God. So we do a lot of things thinking we would have to be praised for, or we are looked up for. But what he means to say over here by mentioning God is not exactly the spiritual God. God over here refers to any person, any society, or anyone for that matter who is concerned. But whatever we do, whatever deeds we do, it's not for for the other person, or for any others who are concerned, but it is for us. It is very important for us to be on the moral grounds, for us to evaluate if we are right, if we are wrong, and whatever stands or whatever decisions we make, it should be depending upon us. It should be in a way that we have to convince ourselves that yes, whatever I am doing is morally correct. If it's not to please others, but it's to have that acceptance by ourselves. So, coming to ethics, again, morals and ethics are sometimes interchangeably used, but some of the physicists or psychiatrists who have done research, they debate over this topic like morals and ethics are different. So let us see if it is actually different, or is there anything what do you call nothing, is there any borderline between the morals and ethics? So that coming to the terminology, ethics often describes the investigation and analysis of moral principles and dilemmas. So morality is something general. So by seeing the definition, what we can understand is morality is something which is general for a group of people, or a society, or a cultural group. But ethics is something which is to be investigated and analyzed, and then it should be figured out. So so ethics is always often describes the investigation analysis of moral principles. So out of the moral principles or moral etiquettes what we follow, we take something out of it to be followed as something called ethics. And ethics can be of different kinds. It can be when you go to the professional career, it can be work ethics, or when you're doing an research or any studies, it can be a student ethics or research ethics. So there are different types of different fields where the ethics keeps on evolving, or there are set of rules for different types of fields which you are associated with. So there is another definition which tells that it can also refer to rules or guidelines that establish what conduct is right and what conduct is wrong for individuals and for groups. So again, similar to morality, what is wrong and what is right is what we define. We frame a rules or guidelines. So whenever you go to any organization, you can see that there are written guidelines or rules by the HR or by the management or anything as such. So when you see morality, it's actually not particularly defined. Like, you know how to be moral, how to behave in a group atmosphere, how to behave in a society, how to behave in a social gathering, but nothing is actually defined over there. Nothing is actually put a line wherein you are told to tell, if you have to do this, you have to follow that particular path or particular way. But when it comes to ethics, and ethics particularly in organization, there is always a set of rules or guidelines which is written in the rule book, or uh, or you are supposed to follow, or you have to follow. So that is that I think would be something which can differentiate or which can draw a line between morals and ethics. For example, see, codes of conduct express relevant ethical standards for professionals in many fields such as medicine, law, journalism, and accounting. So each of these fields, like medicine, law, journalism, and accounting, or any engineering field, or any technical jobs, softwares. So all of these fields have particular set of standards which the professionals have to follow, and it need not be the same for a medicinal person and a lawyer. Like a doctor and a lawyer need not have to have particularly the same ethical standards which he has to follow. It can be different depending upon his or own profession. So, as I already told you, some philosophers make distinctions between ethics and morals, but many people use ethics and morals interchangeably when talking about personal beliefs, actions, or principles. For example, my ethics prevents me from cheating, or it can be said that my morals prevent me from cheating. Basically, morals and ethics hold the same value. We'll just discuss about what is values in the next coming slides. So basically, these both are something which is required for humanity, for upholding some of the human values in our society. So it's not wrong to interchange and say what is ethics and what interchange ethics and morality or morals. But when you look into the exact definitions or exact usage of the terms, there might be a little bit different, or ethics might be the subset of morality or morals. So that is how I see. So whether we use ethics to refer personal beliefs or rules of conduct or study of moral philosophy, ethics provides a framework for understanding and interpreting right and wrong in the society. So at the end of the day, whether it is ethics or morals, what we have to do is, for any situation wherein we are stuck up or wherein we have to take proper decisions, we have to understand and uh, think about whether it is a right or wrong thing to do. So that is what is important at the end of the day. There is another uh, quote by Potter Stewart. Potter Stewart was an Supreme Court judge in the USA. He was a former Supreme Court judge. He was a Chief Justice of the court. Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. So this is a very interesting, and this is one of the most favorite quotes which I came across in recent times. So ethics is the difference between what you have a right to do. So we might have a right to do anything, like so many things. So if you see the fundamental rights, we have right to speech, right to live anywhere in the country. There are 7 fundamental rights. So we take an example of right to speak. So right to speak is something, I think, which is one of the things which is most misused in our country. Uh, so it is, yes, it is a fundamental right. Yes, you have the freedom of expression. Yes, you are allowed to speak whatever you want. But actually, when you see, it might not be the right thing to do. You might have the right to speak something, but it may not be the right to speak certain things. For example, defaming a person because of your personal issues with him. So there might be a gathering, social gathering, or any professional gathering wherein you have been given the opportunity to speak, and you have some personal grudge on the person. So you speak about something personal or something which defames that particular person, and it might not be the place wherein you can speak about such things. So even though you have the right to express whatever is your feelings, but it may not be the right place to do that, and it may not be the right gathering to do that. So we should always know the difference between what are the rights we have and what are the rights we can utilize and where we can do that. So rather than doing defaming a person in a society, it's better to speak to the person face to face and sort out whatever the right or wrong things which is there between the two. So that would be a right thing to do. So it's always, ethics or morality is always distinguishing what is right and what is wrong, and what are the rights we have and where we can use it for the betterment of the humanity, or the betterment of yourself before humanity. Another quote by Albert Einstein: relativity applies to physics, not ethics. Uh, Again, coming to Indian politics or behavior of the person in general, or any for that matter, not only Indian politics, anywhere else in the world, relativity is something like, relativity means you're comparing yourself or comparing some situation with respect to some other situation. Just because some other person did some wrong deeds to someone else, It doesn't mean that you are entitled or you are given the freedom or you have the right to do such a thing to someone else or to him. Or it might be someone might have done a bad deed to you. It doesn't mean that you would have to do the same type of thing to that person back. So relativity, it only applies to science or physics. It is not ethics. So if you have to be on an ethical ground, if you want to follow ethics, if you want to be an ethical person, relativity does not apply over here. Relativity, okay, you can follow relativity only for the positive matters. It's not for the negative matters, like any grudges or any fight or any bad deeds for anyone. So please do not use relativity when it comes to ethics. Okay. So while discussing morals and ethics, we came across this term called values. So what I feel is morality or morals and ethics is what is the basis for the values or human values, which is very important for the well-being of any society. So values are individual beliefs that motivate people to act one way or another. They serve as a guide for human behavior. So following set of values or set of rules or regulations is something which motivate people to be a better person or be a better individual in the society, and these values serve as a guide for human behavior. Values might be being truthful, being what do you call being truthful, being following the integrity of life, following showing compassion to your beloved society, beloved colleagues or parents, friends, and relatives. It can be following non-violence and a conduct of peace. And whatever you do, you should be truthful. And according to many philosophers, there are different set of values which they tell are very important in life. uh, some some tell five, there are set of five values which are the universal values. Some tell it are tens. For me, when I was given this opportunity, or when I started doing the research about what is morals, values, ethics, and all, what I found was these five, that is truth, righteous conduct, peace, love, and non-violence. So these five, I think, are the ground universal values which are quintessential for any human for the betterment of society. So being truthful is always correct, and sometimes being truthful might not be the ideal thing to do in that particular situation, but seeing uh, the human history or the human behavioral history, the results of various historical events, it's always taught us that hiding truth or telling lies for escaping the situation has always resulted in a much destructive results, which we have got a much destructive results always. So truth is one of those values which is the integral part of uh, this morals or ethics. So we have to follow that. Righteous conduct, again, what is right and what is wrong, it is very important. In our present scenario, the pace at which the world is operating, we barely get time to think what is right and what is wrong. We are made to take decisions on our foot, on the go, on the word go. You have to take the decisions. You are in a meeting, uh, you have set of clients which you are interacting with. There are some decisions which you have to make, and whether irrespective of right or wrong, you have to make that. So it is very important to uh, to cultivate the habit of thinking uh, always before doing some deed, whether it is right or wrong, so that your brain or your mind is automatically activated in such situations wherein you do not have enough time to take a right decision. But if you do this on a consistent basis, if you have this value, then it would be much easier for your mind to uh, lead to that right path. And then coming to peace, so we all know the importance of peace now, with so much happening, especially in the busy city life. Peace is something which is sought after. So there are we take up individuals take up lots of courses. They pay huge amounts of money for having peace of mind, as they say. So instead of paying that money, if these values are taught for an individual right from schooling or from the college, so I think that would be a great development in any education for that matter. And love and non-violence. Love is something which is uh, love and care, which is quintessential for any individual, any person for that matter. He is everyone as an individual, we expect to be loved by our dear ones, whether it might be parents, it might be spouse or kids. We like to be loved, and if you have to be loved, again you have to show that same kind of love to every other person whom you interact with. So love is again giving and taking. It cannot be one way. So, and non-violence, we have one freedom or independence by non-violence, by led by the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi. So we all know the importance of non-violence and the power of non-violence for that matter. So so I think these values, truth, righteous conduct, peace, love, and non-violence, are the universal basis or universal values which every human should have, and it should be taught, or the importance of these values should be uh, told about to every student in any education, whether it might be a technical education or any other field of education. It should be taught from the first day itself. So let us go in particularly about values. Uh, I just told what different types of values or different values which are required. So now what we'll just see what exactly is values. So by principle or by definition, people are predisposed to adopt the values that they are raised with. So as I told you, when I told about this universal five universal values which I adore, I told you that it should be from the right go, or from the schooling or from the college. So that is what is told in the first line. Adopt the values that they are raised with. So values is not something which can be put into a individual's mind or heart and soul, that yes, see, this is you have to be truthful. It's not like as and when you tell him you have to be truthful, a person will become truthful. It's not like that. So it should be raised from childhood or from any point of time. So it is a development a quality which an individual should gain as and when he grows. So the values can the extent to which he follows these values may vary along his lifespan, but knowing these values right from a young age is very important. People also tend to believe that those values are right because they are the values of their particular culture. So for example, we have this culture of doing namaste to our guest when they enter any functions, or for that matter any place. So we tend to believe that this is a right way of doing it. So this is something a individual believes that he has to do as soon as he sees any elders or a respected individuals. So this is something which comes out of respect and which we believe to be right. So it is not that so if you go and tell a foreigner namaste, you have to do namaste instead of telling an hi or a shake hand, he would not believe it. Like, what is the use of doing this, he might tell it. So it depends upon a particular culture. What might be right for us, it might not be right for other person. But his way of conveying a hi or a hello might be using a shake hand. So it is depending upon the particular culture where you are raised with. So where the culture where your culture which you follow plays an active role in the values you uh, which you uh, which you get over a period of time. So next, we have ethical decision making often involves weighing values against each other and choosing which values to elevate. Conflicts can result when people have different values, leading to clash of preferences and priorities. As I already told you, in the Western culture, giving shake hands can be can be the way of greeting a person, but in our cultural value, in a traditional family of an Indian, it might be telling namaste with the folded hands. So there can be differences of opinions when you go on a professional visit. You may do a namaste somewhere in UK or US, and that may not be taken well by that particular organization. So this is again an ethical decision making. So again, you have to think before doing the deed. You have to think what is right and what is wrong. It might not be wrong to tell namaste over there, but it can be more appropriate to have an handshake with that particular person at that particular situation at that particular moment. But anyway, we have seen the effect of corona everywhere. Our culture is being followed. Namaste is becoming a social norms. Namaste Trump was another program which even started before corona times. So we should be something proud of it. So it's always ethics is something which is how do we follow them with respect to different situations and different times and different places. Some values have intrinsic worth, such as love, truth, and freedom. Other values, such as ambition, responsibility, and courage, describe traits or behaviors that are instrumental as means to an end. So seeing values might be different to different person. For a spiritual person, values might be doing having peace of mind, having love, and uh, being truthful at any situation. For an ambitious person, the values can be taking care of his family, having the courage to stand up for his family, and doing everything possible from his side to his family. So when you see a spiritual the values of a spiritual person and the values of an ambitious family person, there are two different things. But there is nothing wrong in the in the values which the spiritual person is having, and there is nothing wrong in the values which the family person is having. So it's instrumental that we understand and respect the values followed by each and every individual. So some people consider values to be sacred, and some people will not be having any imperative or any sacred feelings for them. For an example, if you consider a national flag or an uh, uh, a state flag, some people see it as sacred and they respect it. They would never let it down on the ground, or they have that emotional attachment towards that. But so a few people can never bother about a flag being put on the floor. So it depends from a person to person. So often when you feel that something is sacred, it becomes a duty uh, to respect it and follow it. And it may need to cultural or clashes between such indifferent values. And so uh, of finding the root of values and understanding the values of the other person is very important. Having values is one thing, and respecting others values is another thing. So if, irrespective of we follow the values which are followed by others, is irrespective of that, it's always good to respect others values irrespective of you follow or not. So seeing all these things, values are universally recognized as a driving force in ethical decision making. So having the only when we have all these values, can we be on ethical grounds, or can we make decisions which are ethically or morally right. So these are the driving force, or the values are the driving force in ethical decision making. So again, another quote by Sri Mahatma Gandhi: always aim at complete harmony of thought, word, and deed. Always aim at purifying your thoughts, and everything will be well. So, harmony of thought, word, and deed is nothing but having a correlation between whatever you think, whatever you speak, and whatever you do. So, what we think is what we do. What we do is what we think is what we speak. What we speak is what we do. So, aiming to purifying your thoughts. So it all depends upon the thought process which you are having. So having purifying, or uh, having a control over your whatever you think is what it matters. So once you have a control over your thinking skills, or whatever you are thinking, automatically whatever you speak or whatever you do falls into place, and it will all be well. So, after this brief discussion about basics of what is morals, what is ethics, what are the driving force of this ethics and morals. So that is the values. So let us I'll just try to go across some of the things, or some of the situations wherein I think moral and ethics play a great role in power sector. Uh, so so we have this criteria to gauge the development of a country. Development of a country is gauged by the amount of power generated, accessed, and utilized by the people of that nation. So what it means to tell is, if you see, for any of our daily activity, electricity is the most important uh, thing. Without electricity, the world would be on a standstill. So, one of the standards wherein they see how developed a country is by seeing uh, how well organized their power sector is. That is power accessible to all the person in that particular nation. So, so you might know, if India is still a developing country, and we are going towards the renewable sectors, going up towards green energy, and we have lots of government initiatives wherein there is initiative for uh, taking power to every rural household. uh, so so India is towards that transition from a developing country to a developed country. So technology is boosting at an phase. So for anything which you do, irrespective of a farmer doing agricultural activities, or an engineer doing a software study, or a mechanical workshop, or any field, or a medical person doing using technology for operating a person using uh, high methodologies. For anything, electricity becomes a basis. So development of a country is gauged by the amount of power generated, accessed, and utilized. So we, as a electrical engineer, I feel proud to be serving in this sector. So coming to power distribution, that is, let us we have power generated at some remote location, and then it is transmitted through cables, and finally it is distributed to our households or industries. So when power is distributed, there are certain stakeholders in the sense the power players, that is the power captive plants which generate power and sell it to us, that is the utility grids, and uh, we as a consumer are also a stakeholder. So the person who is selling the power has invested some amount of money into it. So, and what we see over here is especially in rural areas, there is a power theft. So you can see this person wondering about the hooks put on the cables or the distribution lines. So as a kid, even I wondered, what is this? What they do? I never understood. So when I started doing this analysis or research about it, that's when I got to know that they're utilizing power from directly from the lines which are not metered or which are not accounted for tariffs. So this is one of the uh, most sought after if you can see on a out of 100% power which is generated, we have lots of losses which incur during from transmission to distribution stage. It might be technical losses wherein it depends upon the technical terminology like iron losses, copper losses, all those things. And another is the non-technical losses, that is what we account as power theft or meter tampering. So what happens over here is, first of all, it is ethically not a right thing to do, because you are using something which you are not paying for. And second thing, it is a risk for other persons who are nearby to that lines, because these are live wires, and the power is taken out of a hook which can fall anytime due to wind or anything as such, and any children or anyone, any elders who are being around, can have a shock hazard. So before doing such deeds, it's very important for us to see the consequences of what is happening. First thing, as I told you, there will be losses which will be incurred to the utility or the selling person. And second thing, for an engineer point of view, you would be puzzled regarding where is that power which is not even included in my technical losses going. So this power theft is something which cannot be calculated for uh, by just like that. It is something which would be going off the road virtually. So it would be a challenge for an electrical engineer to see where is the losses actually happening. Third thing, it is an human hazard. So these two things, the first and second thing, that is the losses incurred to the utility or any person or an electrical engineer, can be dealt with. But a personal hazard or an accident to any humans who are not at fault is something which is very serious. So it should not be done in the first place. Again, meter tampering is similar to power theft, wherein you take a point of connection before the metering point. So you can see these wires which are being taken up. So these are going to the meters. So even before going to the meters, they've taken the electric power supply. So they will not be accounted for your tariff. So again, you can see the live wires, how it's terminated over here. There can be a well possibility of a short circuit. Short circuit may lead to fire hazards or flashovers, which can cause accidents to any human person which is nearby. So these two are something which are closely related and which should not be done. And overloading or overutilization, you can see that uh, for any consumer, while we are taking in supply from the utility grid, we would be given certain amount of electricity which we are allowed to use. For example, if you are given a 2 megawatt loading, you are supposed to use something somewhere between 2 megawatt and less than that. You cannot load your place above 2 megawatt. What happens in industries or even most commonly in agricultural fields is they take a power supply asking for a single phase motor, or a motor of around 10 kilowatt. But what happens is, for pumping more amount of water or using more amount of load, what they do is they buy a 2 megawatt 20 kilowatt motor or a three phase motor and then connect it across the line. So what happens over here is, yes, there would not be any problem which would be happening to the equipment used by that particular user. But what happens is there would be some losses or some voltage drops which occurs over there, and it can affect any other person who is using subsequently. Okay, so it will so these are the things which are some of the challenges in power distribution. So social impact is, it can be human hazard due to any accidents, or any other person can be suffering, or you would not be having electric power supply because of your own because of the deeds which you have done, or the overloading or overutilization which you have done. So what is the role of technical and moral education over here? So it's very important that the engineers, or for that matter any individual who is undergoing these are some of the basic concepts which we study from right from 11th or 12th or even sometimes ninth standard. So nowadays curriculum are evolving at such a phase that even I think these are covered in ninth standard also. So it is very important that a social uh, a social awareness is to be created, uh, especially uh, among uncivilized or undercivilized community, wherein telling them the impacts of doing such things which can impact on the social behavior, social impacts, as well as any connected loads or any concerned people. So one particular example, maybe I can take an example of during my college days itself, with respect to waste management. We know Bangalore is such an urban city with huge human huge waste which is generated by people each and every day, and proper care is not taken up. So one of my civil batchmates, they did this social behavioral what do you call, social acts or skits in rural places and even in urban places, in the streets, regarding the importance of social regarding the importance of waste management. And subsequently they even did surveys regarding the impact of such skits or such social awareness, and it was seen that there was at least some changes which happened in those concerned areas or concerned wherever they had performed those particular skits. So it was in, I think it was in 2016 by civil, during some solid waste management. I think they would have that subject, I think. So for that they did. So such kind of awareness can be created, and it can be done. It first, the awareness to be created with among our engineers regarding the technicality and non-technicality of such things, and it can be later directed to the concerned people. So I think this would be a way forward for uh, uh, like a small contribution from us. Okay, there is another challenge called harmonics. So harmonics is something. It's a pollution of electric power, you can tell. I know there are lots of people over here who are not only from electrical, from all other backgrounds of education. So I'll just try to simplify what is harmonics. So it is something distortions in our power whatever we get. It's something like an pollution of electricity or pollution in our electric power. To understand better, consider a drum filled with water. Someone takes a jug of water from it and stores it, or for utilizes it, and that jug is very clean. A second person comes and the jug is little bit dirty, and he puts the same jug and then takes water from the drum. So what happens, whatever the dirt is there in the jug, some of it can be transferred into the drum, so polluting that water, whatever is there in the drum. And then what happens is, next a person called C comes and again takes another jug. He is using a clean jug in this scenario, and but still when he takes the water for utilizing, he sees that it's polluted. So harmonics is something which is due to some of the loads which are connected by the consumers. So because of one consumer using such a load, it can impact any other users subsequently who are utilizing the same electric power which is connected in the particular distribution system. He also can face that consequences. See, there is no fault of the consumer A or consumer C of the water over here, but still they might have to face the consequences. So when this user B took a jug out of a jug of water from the drum, if he had taken care to clean the jug before putting it into the drum filled with water, it wouldn't have posed a problem for either him or any other person who is subsequently using it. So it is something like that in power system. What is harmonics? Okay, so what are the effects of this harmonics? So for example, if you take water, uh, water can be used for washing clothes or even for drinking. For fundamentally we use it for anything, for cooking, anything. So we have clean water and we have polluted water. So what is ideal for us? Clean water. So similarly, what is ideal for a electricity or a power system engineer, or for utilizing electricities, it should be in fundamental frequency and power. That is, a set of waveform or set of guidelines is there, it should be like that. So what happens next? Now my water is polluted by the person B. So basically, whatever is my frequency and power will no longer remain fundamental. So because of this, what happens when you use that same water for cooking? It may have a long term or an immediate effect. For example, if you use it on a cloth which is black color, or a blue color cloth for washing it, it may not show an effect, or a brown color cloth, it may not show an effect immediately. But if you keep on using such the same kind of water, on a long run you may spoil that cloth. For example, so similarly, harmonics in power system, if you use it on if the same problem is seen by that particular other connected loads for a long time, it may pose a problem for a long time. It may not be immediate. Or sometimes what happens, a complete half jug completely filled with dirty water, if you put it in the drum, it can pollute at a time, and it may have an instantaneous effect. So what happens in the power system is, there can be malapplication of transformers, failures of transformers, overheating, arc flash hazards can be seen, and it can affect both the economics, that is the capital cost, as well as it can affect the human effect. It can cause accidents to humans. So this is something which we have to think about. So coming to again, how do we find a solution for this? Okay, there are some loads which are inherently uh, what you call have a property of generating harmonics. For example, for instance, IT parks, like we choose electronic equipments. Electronic equipments are one of the major source of harmonics production. Or any steel plant which uses furnaces, or any drive system. All these things are something which create harmonics. But it cannot be the case that we do not use such applications. Still, if you use that application, harmonics will be generated. So there should be some care which can be taken. Even if that harmonics is generated, it should be controlled in some way. So that is what the responsibility of an engineer comes into picture. So that it is the responsibility of the manufacturer and the designer of the equipment to ensure proper care has been taken while designing them, so that minimum harmonics generated. So while we are manufacturing any equipment, we should take care that a minimum amount of harmonics will only be generated by that particular equipment. Okay, so the next step will be, okay, there is no check which is done by the manufacturer. We install it. So what happens is, we have to, now it's on the consumer's responsibility, that he has to keep the check upon what is the harmonics which he is generating and how we can mitigate. There are certain ways where we can mitigate harmonics, like for example, if you want to clean a water, cleansing it with some of the water purifiers can be a solution. Like a filter, we use filters for purifying our overhead tank water, right, which is seem to be not potable. So for using getting a potable water, we use water filters. So similarly, there are harmonic filters which are there in power system, which are used for removing these harmonics from the system. So that can be used by the consumer entities, so that they would not be affecting other persons. The state utility boards should strictly monitor quality of power being distributed. So seeing all these problems, again, see, harmonics is not something which is having a significant, or which can be seen directly. It is something which is inherent in the system, and which it should be dealt by a person who is well versed in that technical field. So it is a responsibility for the engineer and the stakeholders to take care of that. So when we see what is the role of uh, a technical educator, or for that matter, an engineer in this particular field, is he should know the backgrounds of whatever he is studying. So it is very important to know the technicality involved in such issues. So when we are learning any topic, irrespective of whether it is technical or non-technical, the possibility of them having any social impacts or opportunity to add value should be identified. So being a lecturer, or being a faculty, or being an individual who is a stakeholder of that particular field, you should know, when you are learning that particular topic, you should know, for any topic we have to associate what is the social impact, and what value can be added. So it should always not be seen as a burden, but it should be seen as an opportunity to the betterment of humanity. So while doing such courses, a brief discussion interactions about them can be useful to understand the crowd or student opinion of them. So you may tell, so for example, when we take uh, such things only, uh, half of the class might agree on spending some amount more money for installing such filters, and some people may say that, no, why do we have to install filters and increase the cost of for cost of my client, or cost of mm, the manufacturing cost of the equipment. So so see, this is like, everyone would not have the same opinion over all the topics. So it is very important we understand what is the crowd opinion on them, and further, the opinions of all of the students, or all of the crowd, should be taken into picture, and it should be discussed well, such a way that all follow, or all align with the righteous conduct, or an ethical conduct. So further projects, technical or non-technical, can be taken up to address such issues. For example, now I told about the waste management issue, or the issues of the distribution board. So this is where the role of a teacher, or a role of an professional lecturer, uh, or teaching professionals come into picture. It is very important to inculcate values into students. It is very important to let them know what is right, or what is how do we have to address each and every issues, which cannot be possibly possibly been like found by other person, what is the value which as an engineer I can add to that particular field. So this should be always a discussion, rather like at least for a 5 minutes after the class or in the subject hour. If this can be taken up on every topic which is being dealt, or which every lesson which is being taught, think it would be a way forward. So coming to morals and ethics in profession, uh, sir, how much time do I have more left? I think we have a ample amount of time. I think 1 hour left. Okay. So, hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay. So, when we come to professional ethics and morals, there can be situations where what is called as situational congestions. This is a scenario wherein people are forced to take up some decisions. For example, I came about a study which was being taken up regarding the morality of a company selling a drug. So they were selling a drug which can possibly cause death to a person or have an ill effect on a person compared to its competitors' drugs. So when asked generally on social basis, the people told that it is unethical to sell those drugs, and they wouldn't do that. Next, on the next phase of the project, what they did was they divided the same people into groups, and then they told that the groups to assume a directorial or a management role in that company, and they told them what decision would you take in that situation. So in this there were 57 groups which were made, it seems, and each and every one of those 57 groups decided to sell the drug. So they framed the issue as a business decision in money terms. They ignored the harmful effects of their decision, which would have on others. So one driving force of all these ethical and moral grounds are values, and the other driving force for this immoral behavior is money. So it's always important to know the difference between being valued in terms of your deeds and being valued in terms of money. So ethical behavior requires maintaining the same moral standards regardless of the roles we play at home, at work, or in society. So when the same people, when they were not concerned with the company, or they were not associated in the management role or the profit making directly with respect to the company, they told that it's unethical to sell that drug. But when the same people, when they thought about the company in terms of profit terms, they decided to sell the drug. So here is where ethical behavior comes into picture, and ethical grounds plays a major role in deciding uh, deciding the roles which we play, or the roles which we have, irrespective of the position, time, or or profession which you are into. So the ethical ground should always remain the same, or the moral grounds should always remain the same. It should always uphold the values which is required for humanity. And such situations are quite often which we face in day-to-day life. So another background with particular experience of mine, we had a client wherein we had to do this harmonic study. So we already know what is harmonics. It's the pollution of electricity. And how do you gauge, or how do you quantify this, how much polluted your power is, or your electricity is we use a power quality meter. It's something, a measurement device. So we had to do a measurement in this particular site location, like 5 to 10 locations we had to do this measurements. And initially we were not told about the purpose of doing this measurement, and then we created a report, and there are certain standards wherein we can compare if I am violating some of my results, or like for example if I am polluting more than whatever is advised by a committee or something. So that was analyzed, and we sent a report to the client, and we saw it most often it was a situation wherein it was polluting more than the prescribed level, or the harmonic levels were more than the values which were prescribed by the utility boards. So again the client came back to us resubmitting the report telling that harmonic levels are very high, but you would have to reduce it and send us a report. So see, we have done a measurement. For example, when we are measuring a thermometer, the body temperature using a thermometer, you irrespective of you have to enter a mall or not, it's your temperature which decides in this corona times. If your temperatures are above 104, you will not be allowed inside. So in this case, same with the harmonics. So what the client was telling us to do was basically to tamper the values whatever we have got. So now we are into a situational congestions. One thing, the client is a boss. Client is boss for us in any consultancy or any professional firms, uh, or any service based companies. So we cannot directly confront him telling that we will not be doing it. And at the end of the day, profit or money is what the company sees, and we are paid based on that. So second thing, so this is again clash of values. And third thing, it is not ethically right for me to do that. So again I asked him, what is the purpose, why do you have to do this, like why do you want the reduced harmonic levels? So that's when I realized that there was a court case which was prevailing between the state electricity board and the industrial board members regarding this harmonics. What was happening was there was frequent transformer failures which was happening at the vicinity of this industrial area, wherein consumers who were not at fault were being were feeling the heat of this particular pollution or harmonics. So the state electricity board intervened, and then they put a court case telling on the industrial sector in that particular area, telling that they would have to compensate for the equipment failures which is happening around the area, and they were penalized heavily. So that is why they came back to us for this harmonic measurement in a way to prove that their harmonic limits is lesser. So what is to be done as a consultant by me, and how do I handle such situation? So when you see it as a company or an entity, it's always that you have to prefer your client preferences, but always again you have to follow, you have a set of standard which you have to follow. So what we did was we had a clear discussion with the client telling this is something which is already measured, and these measurement values cannot be tampered, because tampering is something like there was no need of a measurement if you have to tamper the values, and whatever values is required by you to give it in an Excel sheet, right? So you already done the measurements, we cannot be tampering it. But what we did was again we analyzed the situation. So what was happening was basically the harmonics injected, the limits will increase as and when your load increases. So what these people didn't know actually was they thought that if their load is less, it means that harmonics whatever they are producing is less. uh, but what was happening, but what actually happens is even if your load is higher, yes, harmonics might increase, but the relative increase in the harmonics with respect to load might not be the same. So again what we did was, while doing the initial measurement, the industries were running at a low load condition, and the harmonic limits were very high, because the comparing harmonics will happen with respect to the load. So the base of the load was lower, so the fraction, that is harmonic by the load, was very high. So we again did another measurement with respect to high loading conditions, and then we saw that the harmonic levels came down to an significant number, wherein it was within the limits as prescribed by the electricity boards, and subsequently the court case was won by the industrial sector. So what is the role of morals and ethics over here? So it can be a case wherein I could have just for monetary purpose, the invoice amount or the project order could have been increased, telling that okay, we'll tamper the values and we'll give it to you, but you have to pay us so much extra, and the work would have been much easier for an engineer as for me, and for my company it would be a more profitable. But the decision which we took was to again go back to the case, to have a proper discussion with the concerned person, and then finding a solution which was ethically right and possibly favorable for the client. So when we did the second measurement also, we never thought that it would come down by such an extent, but still going on an ethical grounds or moral grounds with certain values which is being followed by us showed us a path ahead which was favorable for both the client as well as for the company. So decision making again made a major change over here, and the moral grounds of the company and the engineer involved is also to be appreciated. So there was another experience which I came across during a site visit to a steel plant for a power system audit. So we were auditing this plant, and we had to go for some for checking for some control panels and this motor terminals with switch gears and equipments. So while we open these control panels or the switch gears especially, there are certain uh, practices, that is personal protective equipments, which should be wore by the personnel. So we were at the right end of the uh, audit, and our flight was in the evening, and we were still at the place in the afternoon at around 2. The airport was around 3 hours from the site, so we had to we had to catch the flight, and we had to complete the work. Both were there, and the personnel over there was not wearing a proper personal protective equipment, that is PPE. And when you open the switch gears, there is possibility of arc flashes. If there is any fault in any other part of the system, there can be such a way that a high incident energy or high energy of fire hazard is possible immediately after opening the breaker panel. In this case, there are certain standards wherein they tell the persons should be wearing so and so protective equipments. So which was clearly not the case over here, and we just needed few of the photos. So in that situation, we were not going near the switch gears, so we were not at risk. And secondly, it was being done by a site person who was a maintenance engineer, who was from an ITI background, and he didn't have much experience about this particular arc flash hazard. So, and he is doing this work from 6 months. He was relatively inexperienced also, so he absolutely doesn't, I don't think, we didn't think so that he absolutely has got any trainings with respect to arc flash hazards or anything as such, because he's not having PP. He doesn't because any person, when it comes to the risk of your life, you never risk it. So so if he is going near the panel and doing such works, so he would not be trained. So but still, now we have a situational congestion. Now we need the photos, and power system audit is something which is very important, like to be done by the engineers on site. So whatever we are doing, it should be recorded, and what it should be uh, uh, showcased with proof. So it's not a play. We do not have the time that we send for the person to get PPs from the concerned departments and follow all those procedures and then come back and then do it. So it was a time crunch over there. So again, we morality and ethical grounds come into picture. We are putting a person into risk because of our time constraints, even after knowing the potential risks which are involved. It's not that while he opens a switch case, there should be arc flash hazard, but there is a probability of 5% of having that arc flash hazard. So even if there is a 5% probability of risk of an personal, it is very important to protect him. So what we finally did was we put a mail to the concerned. Any entities will be having their safety safety department. We put a mail to the safety department telling that these and so things are not being followed in the site, and for that matter we are not doing this particular audit for this particular equipments, and the same photos should be sent to us by following all these PPEs by an monitored by an engineer at site, and then we had a mutual discussion with respect to the client and the concerned managers in my company, and then we handled the situation. So again over here, if there was no moral grounds or ethical values which we had thought of, it could be a case wherein we would have put the person into risk, even though if it was a 5% of risk of an arc flash hazard, but still we were putting someone's life in danger. So that is always not a right thing to do. So always what is right and what is wrong should be dealt and thought about before we do anything, especially in such risk involved jobs. So Franklin Roosevelt, he was a former president of the United States of America. He told, knowing what's right doesn't mean much unless you do what's right. So knowing PPE is the requirement over there wouldn't have meant anything if we had not taken that decision of not opening the breaker or the switchgear panel without the PPE kit. So knowing what's right doesn't mean much unless you do what's right. So unless we put what all knowledge we know into a working application, it doesn't matter what you know. So unless you follow it, even if you know what is right and wrong, unless you follow it, it is of no use. So with seeing all these things and examples, it's very important that technical education with moral, ethical, and character building is the way ahead. So whenever we learn anything, any subject for that matter, uh, a simplest of a thing, be it a motor, starting of a motor, induction motor, or a DC motor, or running any software, or creating cyber security, or a civil engineer while he follows the best practices for constructional management. So any field you go, you have to see the topics with respect to moral and ethical grounds and build the character of the concerned students and the faculty, keeping in mind these values. So if this is being dealt in day-to-day teaching and learning process, I think it would do a lot good to the society. And okay, and there was a lecturer for me in my first year physics. So when it was a day wherein I was not so good, like I was not in a good mood, and I don't know how did she make that out, and she just came across my table, and then she put a sheet of paper. It was written as this particular quote was written by her: "For the curious minded, there is never a moment of boredom." So I do not know if it's actually our own quote or not. I have tried to Google it around, and I have not found any authors or anyone, or for that matter, this particular quote, I have not found it online. So I believe that it is our own quote. And you might think that what is there in this. But believe me, I was an average student coming into the college, and it was still my first year. And this particular piece of paper which she gave, for the curious minded there is never a boredom of moment of boredom. So this is something which comes to my mind again and again and again. So whenever I feel I'm not doing anything, I feel I'm bored, or I feel I'm being lazy, I remember this particular moment when my madam, she realized my potential, and she came and gave this a piece of chit to me. And then and I always remember this, and then that again motivates me to go on the right way, and again restart my schedules and restart my work with that confidence that, yeah, I am curious enough and I'm creative enough that I can achieve it. So this is something which motivates me again and again and again. So what is the impact which Uma madam had on me is that she had this value in her to 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 search for value which was there in in a fellow student, which she could bring it out. And it is possibly a life changing piece of paper for me from that day onwards. So it's very important. Not only this, there are many lecturers, especially in Venkateshwara College of Engineering, wherein I've come across that they have gone beyond the teaching topics, and then they have told us the examples of their life, how they have come up, uh, how they have dealt with situations. So these are all something which molded me as a person, as an individual, to be ethically responsible, and to always be on the right track. Be it my electrical lecturers, I do not want to name them in particular. There are lots of people who are whom I consider as the role models in such things. If I there are many moments even after my graduation from the college that I have gone back to them. I've discussed about my personal situations wherein I had difficulties in difficulties in taking the decisions, wherein they have helped me. So this is something, the role of a lecturer beyond his teaching skills in respect to the technicality. It is something I feel they're more responsible towards the molding of the student and molding of the nation as a whole in on ethical and moral grounds. So I am very thankful to the lecturers of Venkateshwara College of Engineering, and even Kendra Vidyalaya Indian Institute of Science, wherein I did my schooling from first standard to 12th standard, uh, who introduced all such values into my life. And I feel that I am responsible. I f- I feel confident to tell that I am responsible ethically and morally, and I follow this. I follow these values in everyday life. So, to end the session, again, a famous quotation by Sri Mahatma Gandhi ji: "Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny." So, everything is interrelated. So, the belief which my lecturers or my parents and my teachers who kept belief in me became my thoughts, and those thoughts evolved to be where I am. And I think that this would be the same for any successful person. Belief to destiny, with all these thoughts, words, actions, habits, values, and these are all the things which forms the basis of ethics and morals and character building of any individual in any society. So thank you. If you have any questions, kindly put it forward. I wish I can answer it. And I just a minute, sir. I feel privileged to have this session. When I was initially told about this particular FTP by Ramya madam, I was actually on a back foot because I have barely have 3 to 4 years of experience in my professional life after my engineering, and I'm not old enough I have it to tell or teach anyone moral or ethical values. I'm still learning. I have a lot of way forward to go about in life. So I told her, no, ma'am, this is not my piece of cake. I cannot be doing it. But again, she kept the belief in me, and got back to Vijayashri madam, and they had a discussion, and then they told it will be possible. Then I took it up as a college a challenge, and uh, I I hope I have done a justice to the time given and the trust which was kept on me. Thank you everyone for your kind patience. Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Bharat, for giving such a nice talk on ethics and moral values in industrial workplace.
Yeah. Welcome, sir. Okay. So if we